It's working from a bottoms-up approach. We make tools so stupidly easy for the adjusters and make their lives easy that they almost have to say, please give us these tools if they don't have it from one job to the next. And from there, it does eventually trickle down. It does eventually trickle down to those adjusters.
You don't get paid by the hour. You get paid by the file. Every minute that you spend fixing mistakes is money that you don't make. But the adjusters who get it right the first time, they're the ones who rise to the top of the first call list. I'm Matt with Adjuster TV, and I've worked more than 10,000 catastrophe claims over a 20-year career. And I can tell you firsthand, it's not enough to just be fast. You have to be as accurate as reasonably possible. If you can understand that connection, then you can be one of the ones who get called first when the next storm hits. And incidentally, speed and accuracy are two of the most critical components of concierge level customer service. To dig deeper into how accuracy directly ties to efficiency and income, me and Garrett Kurt, the founder and CEO of One Click Code, will talk about a system that doesn't just make your estimates more accurate, it helps you move faster, strengthen your reputation, and stay ahead of the curve as the industry tries to shift towards more automation. But what happens if you get sued as an adjuster, or even if you lose that lawsuit? If you're an adjuster who makes your primary income every year from claims, you really need to ditch that generic Uber and small business E&O insurance and protect yourself with the only company that exclusively serves the claims industry and who is also happens to be our oldest sponsor, Kaplik. Get real errors and omissions and general liability coverages for adjusters right now at cplic.net/adjuster TV. Also, do you happen to be looking for building inspection and desk adjuster trainings and certifications? Then you need to check out Hague Education. These guys are the #1 resource for damage identification books, trainings, and certifications for inspectors and adjusters. Get industry standard certifications right now at hageeducation.com and use code AdjusterTV at checkout. Okay, here's my conversation with Garrett, starting now. So it's saving yourself time. I mean, it sounds like it's wins all the way around because you're saving yourself time, you're saving the insured time and headache because they're not having to do the insurance company's dragging out the process and trying to, underpay or whatever. You're saving the IA firm time and you're strengthening your relationship with their carrier partners. And the carrier loves it because the customer, those NPS scores, scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to recommend such, our company to your friends and family or neighbors or whatever, right? And it's all this stuff. And I built this channel on being more efficient. So tools like this to me are just, if it makes you faster, if it makes you better, it makes you more money, then I'm like looking very hard at tools like that. Do you think that, or let's kind of shift gears slightly here, and speaking to carriers, how are the carriers kind of reacting to One Click? Are you getting a lot of, is there going to ever be a time where it's included, like the adjuster comes down with the file?
Yes, we're working towards that. We have some carriers already there. We're integrated with Verisk. The PDF will transition. We're not impacting the estimate yet. Invalidate, which is a Cotality/CoreLogic product, that helps with the back end and auditing. That's the rules engine. We are now integrated with them. They're running, if the carrier wants it, they can add on the rule for Ice and Water Shield to be checked. Just Ice and Water Shield right now. We're going to be expanding more rules. So there is ways for some things to be able to be provided to the adjuster. We have DHA, which is Digital Hub Alliance through Cotality. That's where the assignment can be requested from. If you're using Symbility, you can request an assignment, and we have plenty of carriers that have signed up for that. I would say that it also goes down to, we are going to be working continuously with getting more and more of this built into the systems and workflows. But it's also an opportunity for, as an adjuster, I take ownership over my work product, right? Where can I take ownership to be able to make my work product look better and obviously increase our reputation? And whether or not the insurance companies are providing it yet, you can bring it to their attention, and I'm sure they're aware of it. What we find, another aspect of this, is that we get calls from claims managers saying, "Hey, I'm doing some research right now for our claims management team, and they're looking at having you, but they don't have the bandwidth." And so we work with a lot of claims management teams and the managers themselves saying, I have teams below me that would love this. They're asking for it every single day. And it's interesting. The more you ask for it, the more it trickles up to the top. And then eventually we get calls from the decision makers or the PMs, the project management leads that are working on trying to bring us into their systems. So it's working from a bottoms up approach. We make tools so stupidly easy for the adjusters and make their lives easy that they almost have to say, please give us these tools if they don't have it from one job to the next. And from there, it does eventually get to trickle down. It does eventually trickle down to those adjusters. It just takes a little bit longer.
Yeah. Time is money. And like I just said, I mean, it's, if you can save the insurance company money, they're going to, I mean, you get their attention like very, very quickly, because that profit margin, people think insurance companies are these, they make a lot of money, but their profit margins just aren't that big. And they can get their rear ends kicked if there's a really bad storm season, or if there's, if they miscalculate on their hiring versus the volume of claim, whatever, right? So it's there's a balance, and there's cells on spreadsheets for this kind of thing. So I think that I think this goes for a lot of the new tools that are coming out. Some of the AI, the machine learning stuff, companies that drag their feet on this, or they were like, well, we're just going to stick to the old traditional pen and paper. Yeah. They're going to get left behind. And so I'm curious, what is the role of AI, automation, machine learning with code compliance? What are your thoughts on this? What are you guys seeing?
The interesting thing about machine learning is that it has to be taught, right? So there has to be some sort of data set. The data set we have is our data set. Someone has to go do what we did in order to train a model. So right now, the Google model out there, or maybe GPT, is going to be accurate, maybe, and I say accurate, I'll just start with inaccurate. It's inaccurate more than 30-40% of the time. So you're better off just doing their own research right now. Now, will that increase and get better? Yes, absolutely. Over time it will. But we actually have the data set that is accurate, right? And it is trusted by both contractors and insurance companies. Well, what is interesting is what we're exploring right now is creating our own LLM model to be able to provide this to our insurance partners and our contractors sometime in 2026. We don't have it set up to when it's going to happen, but it's going to play a major role into expanding the answers that we do right now. We have so much opportunity to be able to answer a lot more questions very quickly outside of a report. And ultimately that will then be pulled into an estimation platform where we can be informing the estimate to make better right decisions using building code. The cautionary tale around building codes, it is black or white for the most part. And LLMs, or machine learning, or AI, it hallucinates. So even if it had the right data, it could hallucinate. Even if you told it not to hallucinate, it doesn't know the difference. So it can still do it. So we're not there yet as a company.
We need AIs to check each other.
Agents to check the agent's work.
So I noticed about 65% of you watching this video right now aren't subscribed to my channel here on YouTube. So if you could do me a quick favor and double check that you are, I'd really appreciate it. It's simple, doesn't cost you anything, and it's the easiest way to help me keep making these videos and to keep Adjuster TV moving in the right direction. And in a way, you're part of this channel's story. You're on the journey with us, and I really want to thank you for being here. I don't think it can be understated, the data set that you're talking about. Talk a little bit about how you guys, what that is and how you maintain that data set for all of these codes for Latin longitude.
Yeah. Geocoded, so it's just geospatial. We just find out what is address, rooftop specific building codes to that property. We have a team of over 30 individuals right now working for us, a set of data analysts, building code specialists. All they do all day long is be able to work with cities and counties across the country. There's roughly around 32,000 cities and counties. Oddly enough, only about, let's call it 18,000 of them actually have codes adopted. There's tons of counties out there that don't even have codes adopted. And there's plenty of cities out there, the smaller ones, in rural, that don't have building codes either. But of the 18,000, we track, because that oscillates. Sometimes the smaller cities will say, no more building codes. We're just going to be done. And then other ones are like, we're going to add building codes. So it does oscillate on these outskirts. Right. I should say outliers. But for the 18,000, we track and we know when those building codes are going to change, what they're going to change to, the day they're going to change to them. And we have intimate communication and relationships with those city officials and county officials across the United States. Our goal is to make their job easier. If there's a storm that hits, you can use one click to answer your questions, or you can have 1,500 people calling them on a regular basis, asking the same questions over and over again. So they do tend to like us because we
Right.
save them the bandwidth on the phone because, they don't get paid anymore to answer 1,500 more phone calls a week than they did before the storm. And nor do they get paid more because they're handling the contractors and the aggression of like contractors and potentially like the insurance companies looking at like, how can I get the right information, right? Because they're just most insurance adjusters are just looking for to get the right information. They're not trying to trick anybody. They're just trying to. But contractors are thinking that they're tricking us. They're going to ask the wrong questions, and it's not the right way to approach it. And we really want to save those relationships ultimately. But doing it with 18,000 cities and counties, it takes a large team, dedicated, lots of process, and we strive on our operations of excellence when it comes to data collection and data management.
So you might have mentioned this, and I might have missed it, but how often is it like every month you do it, or is it like as it happens, it's constantly
So
changing the data
we
set?
have a schedule that we go out and we collect the data, and it varies anywhere from every 3 months to every 6 to 8 months, depending on where we're at. If we're in Minnesota, the codes are not going to change in those 8 months generally. But if we're in Missouri, the codes could change in a matter of 3 months, or Colorado, something that's a little bit different. And I say that because Minnesota is a state-based code. I think there's roughly 7 states like that: Florida, Minnesota, and then a few others. I can't exactly remember which ones they are. But the rest of the country is they can locally adopt and change anytime for the most part. So what we do is we track it, and then
Right.
building codes just don't change overnight though. They do generally get approved. So they go through a planning and then approval stage, and then there's a grace period when they get implemented to when they are fully in effect. So we are tracking all of those milestones, and then we know, and we get ahead of it. So we can almost predict when, because they tell us, right, when the building codes are going to change. So it just depends. But anywhere from 3 to 8 months is when we're checking in on these cities and counties.
Gotcha. So, and I think, an example that sort of brings this into a little bit more relevancy and why this is so important for adjusters in particular is, so you get deployed to a hailstorm that happened June 15th, and you have to use the June 15th price list, right? And Xactimate or Verisk, they update the price list every month. You get a new price list, and you have to. So if you went up to the insurance place on the 21st, and you got their estimate done and turned it by the 22nd, and then it's July 5th, right? And the file reopens for some reason, you have to reprice that estimate based on the July price list. Otherwise, it'll be
Right.
wrong. It sounds like you need to probably jump into one click as well. I mean, the chances of it happening, who knows, right? Not huge, but if it does change, it could be the difference between, well, we do need to pay for ice and water shield now, or we don't, or whatever, and it could be
It could
significant,
be, yeah.
right?
Yep. It does change, and it depends on the carrier's, their guidelines. Some carriers will say we need to pull a one-click code based on the data loss, and we'll be able to give a historical record of what the codes were at the data loss. Other carriers, maybe that's not the case, but there are carriers that do that, and one click does provide the ability for that.
Yeah. What's your advice for, in this current environment, which is very fast
Yeah.
moving, as you know, your advice for adjusters who kind of want to stay ahead of the curve and build in a little bit of like sort of career security and an age where it feels like computers and machines and whatever are starting to like edge into people's jobs.
Well, I would say this based on my understanding of where the technology is right now between the two big companies out there, Cotality and Verisk, we're a ways off from fully automation of estimates. So, that there's definitely security in being able to write these estimates. Now, where you write them from and who does the inspection, that's a different story, right? And what I'm seeing though is a trend, and I'm seeing the trend is that there are third-party estimating platform, third-party inspection companies that are starting to not just pop up, take more of a presence in the inspection side, but I'm also seeing a lot more insurance companies hire for desk jobs, which will require a lot of computer skills, but a lot of you're sitting there, you're not on the roof, which this guy has trade-offs, right? Texas in July versus
Sure.
AC in Texas is a little bit different of I think it's different. But if you can get really good at writing the estimates and high quality and knowing the tools and being proficient in the writing the estimates, there's definitely going to be a job for you for a long period of time. On the inspection side, there's always going to be work for that, right? There's always going to be reasons to do it. I think technology will be continuing to advance where potentially Hover will be able to take more inspection photos and they'll be able to take more information from, say, a contractor or from a homeowner taking the inspections. But ultimately, I think there's still going to be this really great job for insurance adjusters to be able to write these estimates from accuracy or at least review them. If they're going to be outsourcing, which I've heard this happening too, they're outsourcing potentially near shore or overseas to write estimates overnight. I can tell you that the quality of that is not going to be as good as someone that's sitting here that understands the U.S. culture, that understands the ability of knowing a roof inside and out because they've been on those roofs. It's a game, right? If you can learn how to gamify it to the advantage of yourself and the output of your work, I think it will remain a prosperous job for you.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And for as long as I've been doing this in this industry, which is since the late '90s, insurance companies it's their dream. It's like their holy grail is to get rid of independent adjusters, right? And, probably after that, get rid of their staff adjusters. But the reason why isn't because they don't like adjusters or people going out and talking to their customers face to face. It's because of that time factor we're talking about and losing money on things with, having a set of people who are quickly trained on the carrier side just to get them out there and working, or independent adjusters who they don't have any control over their training and their knowledge. When you start to bring tools into the mix that can kind of level the playing field and make it to where, people of low experience or high experience can create a consistent, very accurate, estimate that the roofing contractor or whoever can look at and nod his head and go, yep, that looks good. And the homeowner's happy and everybody's happy. That saves them money. So I think it's incumbent on people. I think you're right. They will always try to find ways to outsource and to look for pay somebody $5 a day overseas to write estimates. But if you can save the insurance company money by leveraging these tools and coming to the table with as a full package with a great customer service, the heart of a servant, you're ready to serve this industry and help people, and being adaptable and coachable and being able to use these tools to you're gathering data and you're writing an estimate to fix the thing, right? Or just deciding whether or not it needs the loss is covered or whatever, right? It's not complicated, but the faster it can be done, the more accurate it can be done, the better. And the insurance, like we were talking about the profit margin for those companies, if you can save them money, they're gonna love you and they're gonna want to use you, whether you're an IA or not.
They may want to hire you directly too because if you have that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. I remember that happened to me several times. In my career as an independent adjuster, I had more than one carrier cat manager pull me aside and be like, hey, listen, there could be a spot here at, whatever insurance company it is, so just here's my card. Just think about it, give me a call. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's a compliment, right? I'm doing something good for those guys. They like the work that I'm doing because I was efficient, right? I was trying to do things as fast as possible, but also keep that quality level up. And that's all they're really after, right? One click is, we talk about building codes and we talk about sales tax, but what other features does one click have that adjusters might be interested in?
We talked a little bit about the quantity of the line item, and we do help with understanding what the quantity of ice and water shield and felt reduction is, which is a requirement when you're adding it in. You got to reduce the felt and getting the exact square footage of the ice and water shield. We do those. We have some great tools that can help the adjusters be able to do that. We also have a ventilation calculator. Contractors are very much pushing that you have to add ventilation. Some municipalities do require it, but there's different ways of calculating it. And I'll just say that there's, just like sales tax, you can pick the highest sales tax. You can also pick the highest way to calculate for ventilation, and you over ventilate a house. Now, negative consequence isn't necessarily to the house as much as it is to the bottom line for the insurance company, and we just want to make sure it's accurate. So we help with identifying how much additional ventilation is required when it is required.
And if you want to know how AI, automation, and data are reshaping the future of insurance adjusting and how to stay relevant and in demand while it happens, then watch this video right here. And as always, thank you so much for watching and have a great storm.